The story begins at a gaming tournament where a group of teenagers is competing for a $10,000 grand prize. The objective is simple: eliminate the other players and rack up as many points as possible. As soon as the match starts, two competitors begin taking everyone else out one after another, quickly building a huge lead on the scoreboard. One of them is a newcomer, while the other is a seasoned player who's already won multiple championships in the competitive gaming world. The crowd erupts with excitement, cheering them on as the veteran takes control with his experience, while the new girl struggles to keep up. She refuses to fall behind, even as every second slips away fast. To turn things around, she grabs a bottle of an energy drink called Impulse 9 and chugs it in one gulp. It doesn't just give her a burst of energy, it makes time slow down almost 100 times. Using that unbelievable advantage, she easily eliminates every remaining player, including the veteran who had been dominating the entire match. Now every move around her slows into what feels like frozen time. Just like that, she wins the tournament and starts celebrating the victory with her boyfriend. But she has no idea that her life is about to take a devastating turn. Suddenly, the empty energy drink bottle slips from her hand, crashes onto the floor, and shatters into pieces, almost like her own future. The scene shifts, and she suddenly finds herself living the life of a mother with 3 children. Her biggest victory quietly becomes the beginning of an unimaginable nightmare. Her house is in terrible shape, with no modern appliances and no electricity, making her situation even worse. Outside, the world is nothing but a barren wasteland. The air has become so toxic that even breathing is a struggle. The scene then shifts back to the past, where we're introduced to a girl named Belle Hernandez. She's a talented FPS gamer, and she has only one dream: to become a professional gamer and make a name for herself while earning a lot of money. She lives with her divorced father, Carlos. In 2017, Carlos helps Belle get ready for a restaurant job interview, and she heads out wearing business clothes. She smiles like everything is normal, hiding the truth from everyone. Outside, her boyfriend, Evan, is waiting to pick her up in his car. As soon as they leave, Belle climbs into the back seat, changes out of her interview clothes, and puts on casual clothes instead. But instead of going to the interview, she heads to a gaming tournament called Field of Fire. Like other FPS Battle Royale games, Field of Fire is a multiplayer competition where the only goal is to be the last player standing. One decision quietly pushes her closer to the future she truly wants. Evan tells her that a famous professional gamer named Rai is making a surprise appearance at the tournament. The moment she hears that, she starts feeling a little nervous. She knows today's match could change everything she's been chasing for years. Before long, they arrive at the gaming arena, where Rai is taking pictures with his fans. Before the first match begins, Evan reminds Belle to stay focused and leave her emotions out of the game if she wants to make it to the finals. But Belle has only one thing on her mind: she wants to beat the arrogant Rai. A few moments later, every player takes a seat at their gaming station, and the match gets underway. Belle grabs the early lead, but before long, Rai easily pulls ahead. He's so confident that he even interacts with the crowd while the match is still going on. Confidence can become the biggest weakness when someone finally fights back. Belle uses those distractions to earn a few more points, and she's just one step away from winning. But instead of finishing the match, she tries to eliminate Rai and knock him out of the game. The gamble completely backfires, and Rai takes her out instead. Even so, Belle still qualifies for the finals, which are scheduled for the very next day. One reckless decision changes the outcome of an almost perfect match. As Belle and Evan are leaving the gaming arena, Rai walks over, mocks her by imitating her, and then heads off to take selfies with his fans. While Evan goes to get the car, a man named Kojima approaches Belle and quietly tells her that he knows the secret to winning the tournament. Sometimes, the most dangerous offer arrives disguised as unexpected help. Belle is caught off guard by what she hears, but before she can ask him anything, the man simply hands her his business card and walks away. When she gets home, she quietly tries to sneak into her room without making a sound, but her dad spots her. With no way out, Belle tells him the whole truth. Carlos is furious after hearing everything and tells her that the next morning she needs to go to the restaurant and ask for another chance at the job interview. But Belle explains that the tournament finals are the next day and they're far more important for her future. Like any concerned parent, Carlos insists that online gaming has no real future, but Belle refuses to back down. Ignoring his advice, she heads to her room. She refuses to let anyone stand between her and this opportunity. A little later, she watches a replay of today's match, and seeing Rai finish in first place only makes her even more frustrated. Then her eyes land on Kojima's business card, and she remembers that he claimed to know the secret to winning the tournament. One unanswered question keeps pulling her back toward that mysterious stranger. The more she thinks about it, the more impossible it becomes to ignore. She knows she has to find out what Kojima was really talking about. Curiosity slowly becomes stronger than every warning she's been given. Driven by her desire for revenge and her determination to win, Belle immediately decides to visit the address on Kojima's business card. Before long, she arrives at a gaming cafe called the Golden Saucer. saucer, where several people are enjoying video games at their PCs. Kojima walks over, invites her to sit down, and tells her to play a game. Belle still doesn't understand why he gave her his business card, but she takes a seat anyway. She selects the highest difficulty level, knowing it's almost impossible to beat. Every impossible challenge suddenly begins to look strangely within her reach. Watching her struggle, Kojima hands her an energy drink called Impulse 9 and tells her it's no ordinary energy drink. He says she can try it if she wants. Belle takes a single sip, and instantly, everything around her begins moving in slow motion. Because of that, the game that had seemed impossible suddenly becomes incredibly easy. Then, in the blink of an eye, she's back in reality, sitting across the table from Kojima. Time itself suddenly feels like it's following a completely different set of rules. Confused, Belle asks what just happened. Kojima tells her that anyone who drinks Impulse 9 experiences time moving much slower, and while it felt like only a few moments to her, an entire hour has already passed. The impossible suddenly starts sounding far more real than imagination. Kojima goes on to explain that the more of the energy drink someone consumes, the slower time moves for that person. Then he asks Belle for $500 in exchange for a single bottle, leaving her completely stunned. She believes using an energy drink to win a tournament would be cheating, but just then, Kojima shows her a video of Rai, and Belle realizes that Rai has been using Impulse 9 to win his matches all along. That's why he's been practically unbeatable against every other gamer. After learning the truth, Belle agrees to buy a bottle of Impulse 9. The truth completely changes everything she believed about winning fairly. The next day, before the finals begin, Belle places the bottle beside her keyboard. Just before the match starts, she takes a small sip. With time moving in ultra-slow motion, she quickly takes the lead. Seeing that, Rai drinks several sips of Impulse 9 himself and rapidly climbs back to the top of the rankings. Now both players are fighting with the exact same impossible advantage. Growing desperate and without thinking twice, Belle drinks the entire bottle. Time slows to an unbelievable crawl for her, allowing her to take full advantage of it. She eliminates Rai's avatar and wins the entire tournament. Her greatest victory comes from the most dangerous choice she's ever made. Evan and the entire crowd erupt in cheers for Belle. The two of them kiss to celebrate, but at that exact moment, the bottle of Impulse 9 slips from her hand, crashes onto the floor, and shatters. The scene immediately jumps back to the rundown house, where Belle is sitting in a chair with a baby in her arms. A few moments later, Evan walks in wearing filthy, worn-out clothes. After putting the baby to sleep, he tells Belle to get ready. Completely confused, she looks at her grown-up body and the wedding ring on her finger, then lets out a laugh in disbelief. Hoping to clear her head, she walks downstairs. Nothing around her matches the life she remembers living just moments ago. Downstairs, two more children run up and call her mom. The moment she hears that, panic takes over, and she rushes outside. There, she sees people living in tents and using outdoor public restrooms. She eventually realizes that in the blink of an eye, she's skipped nearly 12 years into the future and has landed in the year 2029. The entire community is surrounded by massive walls that separate it from the wasteland beyond. The future looks nothing like the world she thought she was chasing. The wasteland is home to deadly creatures known as death lizards, infamous for attacking humans. Because of the constant danger, the people living inside the walls take turns standing guard at the main gate in rotating shifts. Survival has quietly replaced every dream people once fought to achieve. Belle also learns that the people who consumed large amounts of Impulse 9 in the past eventually wake up years later in real time. They're known as pulsars. Because of the drug's excessive use, people suddenly find themselves years into the future with no memory of everything they've missed, throwing the entire world into chaos. Whenever someone appears confused about the current time, that's usually how people figure out whether they're a pulsar. Other than that, there's no reliable way to identify them. The world fears people who simply lost years they never chose to lose. Most people blame the pulsars for the destruction, and they're barely allowed to live inside the walled community. Belle works there as a police officer, and a man named Dan serves as her deputy. To avoid the discrimination that pulsars face, Belle keeps it a secret that she once used Impulse 9. Then she suddenly remembers her father, Carlos. As she tries to recall the last time she saw him, she turns her head and notices an urn filled with ashes sitting on the table. One silent reminder tells her everything she desperately didn't want to know. The sight completely breaks her, and she bursts into tears. Just then, Deputy Dan arrives and tells her it's time for her toilet cleaning assignment. At first, she refuses to go, but when Dan reminds her that she's the sanitation inspector and it's her responsibility, she has no choice. She spends hours cleaning filthy public restrooms. Her new reality strips away every trace of the life she once knew. As the days pass, Belle slowly gets used to living in the ruined world around her. One day, after finishing all of her duties, she heads to the school to pick up her children. Her daughter, Sophia, proudly shows her a drawing and tells Belle that she's her hero. But Belle is completely exhausted and doesn't appreciate the effort her daughter put into it. When When they get home, she finds Evan riding a bicycle as fast as he can. Since there's no electricity, he's generating power so they can run a video game. Even entertainment now depends on effort people once took for granted. Belle is stunned when she recognizes her favorite game, Field of Fire. Before putting the kids to bed, she decides to play one round. After Evan leaves to meet with some people, she starts playing with the children. A few hours later, Evan suddenly bursts through the door, terrified. He tells Belle that she forgot to report for her guard shift that day, which meant Dan never got the chance to make it back inside the gate. One forgotten responsibility ends with consequences nobody can undo. As a result, Dan was attacked and killed by the death lizards. The two of them rush to the scene, where Dan's wife is furious and blames Belle for what happened. Guilt hits harder when someone else's loss becomes your own burden. Ashamed of what she had done, Belle starts heading back home, but Evan reminds her that her shift isn't over yet. Hearing that, she reluctantly finishes her shift, then returns home and breaks down in tears. Evan gently comforts her and tries to reassure her. Belle realizes she doesn't belong in this new world, which is why she decides to leave everything behind and venture into the wasteland. She slowly realizes this world no longer feels like it was ever hers. Before leaving, she writes Evan a letter, telling him that she's a pulsar. The next morning, she sets off with no intention of ever coming back. When Evan reads the letter, he can't believe what he's seeing. In the next scene, Belle crosses the barren wasteland until she reaches an abandoned building. That deserted building turns out to be Kojima's gaming cafe, the Golden Saucer. Belle walks inside and looks around, then is shocked when Kojima steps out from behind the counter. Some mysteries survive the years without aging even a single day. She notices that Kojima hasn't aged at all, but he refuses to tell her why. During their conversation, Kojima realizes that Belle only woke up from the past a week ago. He admits that Impulse 9 destroyed countless lives, but says he has a plan that can finally free Belle from all the suffering she's been through. One impossible choice could erase every scar time had left behind. Kojima brings over a large bottle of Impulse 9 and tells Belle to drink it. He also explains that if she drinks it, she'll never come back to this world because she'll wake up hundreds of years into the future, and by then, she'll already be long dead in this timeline. He even suggests that she play a game first. Belle likes the idea and sits down to play her favorite game, Field of Fire. As she leans forward to pick up the bottle of Impulse, her eyes suddenly fall on the drawing her daughter made for her. One forgotten drawing quietly changes everything before she makes the final choice.
She becomes overwhelmed with emotion and drifts into her memories. She starts remembering all the happy moments she shared with Ivan and their children. Some memories become stronger than fear, regret, or even the future itself. Instead of drinking the energy drink, she changes her mind and decides to spend the rest of her life with her family. She heads back home, but when she reaches the gate, she finds Ivan standing guard. He's furious with her, refuses to let her inside, and tells her she betrayed everyone. Sometimes the hardest battle begins after finding your way back home again. Belle apologizes to him for every mistake she's made. While they're still talking, they suddenly hear gunfire in the distance as the death lizards begin moving toward their community. That's when it's revealed that the death lizards are actually a group of ordinary people who survive by eating human flesh. As they get closer, Ivan quickly pulls Belle inside, and at that moment, the alarm starts blaring, sending everyone into a panic. The sound of gunfire suddenly turns every second into pure survival. A woman tells Belle that everyone is heading toward the trench because no one was fully prepared to stop the attackers. That's when Belle comes up with an idea. Since the entire community is furious over what she did, she decides this is her chance to earn back their trust. She tells her husband she'll stay behind and hold off the death lizards for as long as she possibly can. Sometimes redemption demands far more courage than simply staying alive ever could. Ivan refuses to leave her behind, but Belle insists he go for the sake of their children, and he finally agrees. She then pulls out the large bottle of Impulse 9 she brought with her and gets ready for the fight. As the death lizards reach the gate and prepare to launch their attack, Belle suddenly realizes their leader is none other than Roy himself. The enemy standing beyond the gate is someone she already knows. Roy and Belle stand face to face. Roy tells her he arrived in this reality several years earlier and has become a ruthless leader who can kill anyone he wants. But his threats don't shake Belle at all, because she had already drunk the energy drink before he arrived, and she tosses the empty bottle in front of him as proof. Roy quickly realizes she's already become far more dangerous than before. Suddenly, everything slows down for Belle. She fires at a gas canister, sending the attackers flying through the air. Then she keeps firing, driving them back one after another. Every shot she fires pushes the attackers farther away from the community. Unfortunately, she's shot in the stomach and shoulder, causing her to collapse. Roy rushes in and fires at her, but he misses. Belle
seizes the opportunity, shoots him, and kills him. With her final breath, she fires a flare gun into the sky, letting Ivan know that their community is finally safe. As Ivan watches the bright red flare streak across the sky, Belle slowly takes her last breath. Her final signal becomes the promise that everyone else will survive. Sometimes the hardest battle begins after finding your way back home again. Belle apologizes to him for every mistake she's made.